Well, good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to the Raymond Hall Show. I am your host, Raymond Hall, and we usually say it's a nice and breezy day here in Southern California, but they caught us off guard. They gave us a little example of what heat is like. We're here in the studio today with someone that needs no introduction, but we're going to do our due diligence to make it possible. We're here with Mr. Ted Hayes, and he is legendary as an advocate for the homeless here in the community and across the nation, because he has addressed issues where we think that some of it is rooted and grounded in individual efforts or something. Some of it is as systemic and systematic as you want to meet. So call your friends, hit up your Facebook pals and everybody else and tell them that the Raymond Hall Show is on. And our guest today is Mr. Ted Hayes, and we're going to be talking about the issue of homelessness, and we're going to be talking about the 14th Amendment and what all of that has to do with you and I and all of the things that's going on in the community. Mr. Hayes, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
This
very much, Mr. Hall.
This is a young man that I have looked and heard and watched at a number of venues, and I have learned so much from just listening to you.
Wow.
Okay. And you have definitely helped all of us want to get involved.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about you. How did you get involved? What?
My big mouth.
Oh, is that what it is?
I talk too much. Like most people in the world, we see what's wrong.
Right.
And we're good at articulating what's wrong with a passion, and we can point out and criticize. But very seldom do we know how to fix that which we criticize. So I was fussing. I guess the Lord got tired of me running up at the mouth. I used the Bible out. I yelled at preachers on TV.
Right.
I blamed white people, the government, the church, the rich.
Okay.
The Lord said to me one day, Ted, if you know so much, big mouth, why don't you go do something about it? He said, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go down. I'll be downtown Los Angeles with the homeless at the 10th City, across the street from the LA Times. And don't bother talking to me until you come down there, and we'll resume our conversation. It's just like that, man. Wow. It took me a few days and struggling with myself to do that. And finally, I found my way downtown. As soon as I walked around City Hall, Spring Street, Temple Street side up on a hill, and you look down towards the LA Times right there was the two big white tents that an organization called the Homeless Organizing Team. It was some homeless activists and advocates and social service providers and attorneys that wanted to make the point that homelessness is not simply someone down on their luck or someone got fell in drugs and all that.
Right.
They were saying it's an socio-economic issue that needs to be addressed. Okay. And so they didn't want, Tom Bradley was American Town. They didn't want to hear all that. So they said, can we put up a tent city and show you? And because in those days, the homeless were scattered in little spots here and there.
Exactly.
Ones concentrated on Skid Row. Right. And when he said, we'll put the tent up and you'll see. They put those two tents up, man. Hundreds, mostly black folks, showed up. And that's what I had said. It was a young man by the name of Harry Rogers, one of my mentors. He was the leading activist downtown at the time, and he and this German guy was here on a visa, was working, doing all the hard labor to keep that tent city going, right? Right. Now, I saw the brother on my television while I was living outside town, outside of L.A. He was saying, we need help, and that's when the whole thing, you need to get downtown. So when I came up over the hill and I saw those two big white tents and those people, I had an epiphany. Okay. And at that point, I realized what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and I had peace. And me and the Lord started kicking it again.
Yeah, because you have definitely distinguished yourself. I've spoken to a lot of people, and I myself was misinformed. I was talking to people, oh, that homeless guy. And I'm going, okay. Let me share something with you, ladies and gentlemen, and listening audience. Here is a man that had a passion or has a passion for what he does. Keep rolling for so much that he left his comfortable home. He didn't leave his family, but what I'm saying is he said in order to know the problem, I've got to be a part of the problem.
I've got to go live. I've got to do what Gandhi did. Gandhi, who was an attorney, well-educated, well-heeled young man, recognized that himself, and he became an untouchable, which is a homeless person in India, to touch the untouchables. And the greatest of them all, of course, my teacher, my Lord, Yeshua, Jesus, he was a homeless man. He became a homeless man. He says, foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Right. And remember, he told them that when y'all go out, go into the highways, the byways, the alleys, and the lanes of the streets, and compel them to come to my house. And he also said, as least when you've done it to the least of one of these, man, you did it to me. So, following their example to the best I could, you know, I thought I'd be there for maybe 3-4 weeks or something like that.
And it turned 8 years.
8 years on sidewalks on Skid Row. To my knowledge, nobody in the history of our country has ever done nothing like that. It hurt my family. Don't misunderstand me. I didn't abandon them, but I put more time downtown on the streets with the homeless and them children than I did with my own children. But the Lord told me, he says, whoever forsakes father, mother, husband, wife, children, lands, property, for my sake, shall receive 100-fold in this world and in the world to come. Beyond. Yeah. And I've held him to that promise. In fact, one of the signs he gave us, my brother was, one of the signs he gave us was my youngest daughter. She's got the phone with her right now. She's a coach at USC, track and field coach. Wow. She has just been voted as the in the Western Region assistant coach of the year. Her girls are the ones who won that USC track meet recently for the first time and won the national title. But my daughter went to UCLA, and she made it to the Olympic team in 2004. Okay. Went to Greece. Okay. Won the gold medal in the 110-meter hurdles. Now we had record-breaking time. We had the 2004 Olympics were here. In Greece. No, it was in Greece.
No, the Greece.
Yeah, and I was there. Yeah. Bobby Kersey saw to it that my wife, my son got there to see this, and what I received that night was the Lord was telling me, this is a major road sign, Ted, that you and your family are on the right road, and you will be blessed, as I told you.
Okay. Well, now you're really encouraging me, because sometimes I say, Lord, with this transplant, I have I was sharing with you that I have a heart transplant. It's like 18 years, and I was thinking, hey, I made it through this. I'm gonna be on top of the hill. And the Lord told me, son, I did that because I got something for you to do. Teach. And I just said, okay, whatever you have for me to do. Yes, sir. And they tell me, well, Raymond, you got to have numbers. You got to have this, and you got to have. And people come to me and they say, something, Mr. Hall, we are interested in the substance that your show provides. Mm-hmm. It's okay with us if you don't have 1 million followers. Mm-mm. It's just as long as the quality of what it is. So, in listening to you, I mean, you've been a mentor of mine for a long time. I changed my dress and my behavior. Okay, I don't look at why a person is where they are. Mm-hmm. I look at the fact that my path crossed their path on where I am and where they are. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if I got 2 nickels on my path and you have no nickels on your path, I shouldn't be scrambling at the stoplight trying to find a nickel to give it to you. I should have prepared, dressed for giving you a nickel.
Be ready.
Be ready. Because the stoplight takes 30 seconds, and we all blowing at that guy that's holding up the traffic light. Yeah. So you've helped me and helped, I'm sure, others in a number of ways. Yeah. Talk to us about 10th City that was down there at Bixel?
You mean the Dome Village?
The Dome Village, yes.
Or Justiceville. See, there was Justiceville down on Gladys, between 5th and 6th Street, next door to the Catholic Workers Hippie Kitchen, where they feed the homeless. Right. And that's Justiceville. That's where I went when I got on the sidewalks. I moved into that lot with a bunch of homeless folks, and that's Justiceville. And in Justiceville, the conception of Dome Village was born there, was created there. Okay. And then for the next 8 years, after they bulldozed us on May the 10th, Mr. Bradley had us bulldozed. He said, y'all got to go. Anyway, the point is, we continued the struggle. These young brothers and I, and we advocated and fought for the dorm village existence. And after 8 years of going to jail, I must have been in jail many times for civil disobedience, and that's one reason why people became aware of the homeless issue, because I kept it in the news.
Right. That was one of the things that set you apart.
Yeah, I was bringing folks into people's living room at dinner time.
Yeah,
we don't want to see this, but what is that?
Yeah, they could not deny the merit of what you were talking about.
No.
They just didn't want to talk to Ted Hayes about it.
No.
You know, I was really impressed the last time I saw you speak before the board.
Yes, sir.
And you were
June
speaking.
5th.
Yes, you were speaking to Mark Wrigley Thomas.
Yes, one of the people.
Yes, and I was really, really impressed with that exchange.
Yes, sir.
I said it's wonderful when two statesmen are in a room.
Yes, sir.
And they can give.
And they behave themselves. They talk like they got sense.
Yeah. Well, it's just good to see what time does to an issue. The issue remained.
It's gotten even bigger.
Even bigger. But the statesmen now have more wisdom.
Yes, sir.
On how to address that issue.
Yes, sir. In fact, you know, I'm working, communicating with all the deputies, as I said that day, and I just put a phone call into Mr. Thomas's office today, and I knew Supervisor Thomas, when he was president of the SCLC. We should talk about this then,
right.
And he didn't quite know what to do with it, of course. But I'm hoping now that he'll be more open, because one of the things he said that day when he heard that report, y'all should get that report, the June 5th report of the Board of Supervisors. Essentially, the staff told the supervisors, you're not going to end homelessness in LA County. Just ain't going to happen. Because the average rental in LA County is $2,500.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And as my friend Janice Hahn, I knew her before she was even on the council of LA City, and she blurted out that, wait a minute, $2,500 a unit. She says working class and working poor people can't afford that. So how in the world are we going to get these folks on the sidewalks?
Right.
Basically, what we've had. And Mark Lee Thomas blurted out. He said, "We need federal help." Now, based on that, I'm hoping Mr. Thomas will listen, because I know how to get the kind of federal help he and we need to address homelessness in L.A. County and subsequently the nation.
Now, that's going to bridge us to 14th Amendment.
14th Amendment.
Okay. All right. Now, we're going to take a quick break, because I want you to do something for me. The 14th Amendment has been around since
1866, 1868, just after the Civil War.
Now, you'll ask yourself a question. What does it have to do with today? We just talked about the $2,500 a unit, and if you think you're not close to having to deal with it, keep thinking. We're going to take a quick break. Tell your family, friends, Facebook followers, your neighbors that Mr. Ted Hayes is in the studio, and we're talking about homelessness in a progressive way. What are the responsibilities of the nation? What is the response? See, if you're my neighbor, I can only do as much as I have given power as a neighbor. But if the federal government has a responsibility, we need to know what their responsibility is.
Teach.
Okay.
Tell it.
See, I'm an old Marine. I know that the Russians have been the Russians. Yeah, the Russians have been the Russians ever since the Russians were the Russians. That ain't my problem.
That's right, my brother.
That's why the Bible talks about both a gate and a door.
Yes, sir.
I'm supposed to deal with you to identify whether you are friend or foe at the gate.
That's right.
So you never get to my door. See, the Russian issue is at my gate.
Right.
Homelessness is at my door.
It's in your living room.
It's in my living room. Okay.
Sleeping on the couch right there.
Sleeping on the couch. So we're going to take a quick minute. We'll be right back with Mr. Ted Hayes. Thank you so very much. This is Raymond Hall, host of the Raymond Hall Show, and we are here with such a distinguished guest, Mr. Ted Hayes. Mr. Ted Hayes has been welcomed in 3 presidential administrations.
Yes, sir. I've been to the White House 3 times.
On 3 times. On the issue of homelessness.
Yes, sir. Particularly as it relates to black citizens, United States black citizens, i.e. the descendants of the chattel slaves.
Okay. Now, that is where we took a break at because we want to talk about the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Yes, sir.
So now, give us a connection, give us a foundation and a connection of those 2 acts and how it has something to do with all of the homelessness we're seeing today.
150 years ago, white folks, they've been fighting each other since the nation was born. White folks, English-speaking white folks. Lincoln said America is a house divided against itself, and most people think that's between black and white people. It's not between black and white people. It's between white people and white people over black people.
Okay.
In fact, they almost did not sign the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776, because 47 signers of the Declaration of Independence, of the 56, the Declaration of Independence, were slave owners, chattel slave owners.
Okay.
And then there was another group of them who were not. And they were saying, look, if we're going to talk to the world about freedom, that God created all people equal, and that England is trying to hold us as slaves, yet we have our boot heel on the back of another people. In fact, we have dehumanized them and so forth. We need to bring them into the Declaration of Independence too.
Right.
Otherwise, we are hypocrites.
Right.
And so they said in the South said, well, we're not going to change up our style. Without these niggers, we can't survive. What are you talking about?
Right,
you know?
right. And
so they fought. And they, bunk it. Then they realized, you know what? For the sake of the Union, let's compromise and we'll deal with it later. Well, because they did not deal with it later.
Okay.
God, who was implicated in the Declaration of Independence, when they say God has created God, okay? And they say God told me, and God bless America. Right. God ain't deaf. He ain't blind. Right. He's sitting there still listening to all this.
Yeah.
And he said, wait a minute. Y'all made a deal that you're going to clear my name. You put me in your Declaration of Independence. Right. You're going to set my children free.
Okay.
You ain't done it. So 60 years later, 740,000 young, innocent white boys and men, North and South, this white division over black people blew up into a violent, most bloodiest war this nation has ever seen.
That was a civil war.
More people, the Civil War, ladies and gentlemen, more people died, Americans died in that war than all the wars America has fought combined. Great was
That's
that
saying
war.
a lot.
Saying
because you
quite
got World War, World War II, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam.
And those wars were overseas wars, had to do with other people.
Right.
This war had to do with home.
The ground was soaking up its own blood.
And these white people were struggling with themselves.
Right.
Okay? And so thank God the victors of the war were the ones who were saying, hey, we cannot leave these people out of the Declaration of Independence. We must include them. Right. So when they won the war and set us free in 1865, May 15th, 1865, slavery ended. And then December, I think it was 19th, 1865, the 13th Amendment was enacted. This is all coming out of Lincoln's head now. 13th Amendment was enacted, which abolished slavery except in prison. Okay?
Okay, right.
Then the architect realized, wait a minute, we need to, who are these people? We need to make them citizens. So they passed a congressional act in 1866 that made us citizens of the United States. And in that act, there are 10 sections which give specific instructions to the departments of the federal government as to how to enforce our citizenship so that we enjoy a citizenship as is enjoyed by white citizens, says the Constitution, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And so of those 10 sections, it speaks directly to the president. And it orders the president 3 times, section 3, section 4, and section 4, and section 8, and section 9. The president is ordered. He is ordered to ensure that we have a citizenship as equal to white citizens. You follow what I'm saying?
Okay.
And this has never happened.
No, because you've never been
as a people.
Had access.
Never.
As
As white citizens. We've never had it. We've never. Of course, there's always the talented tenth that Webb Du Bois talks about. Dr. Webb Du Bois. No matter what level, who you are in society, there's always going to be a tenth that rises to the top, no matter who it is. Right. So it's that. But the majority of us never experience it. So anyway, the point is, the architects of the law realize, wait a minute. They're citizens today, but what if a Congress comes along and don't like what we've done and they want to repeal the act? Because it's only a congressional act, so it can be repealed. Right. They said, well, we need to codify, enshrine, embed this act of citizenship to the chattel slaves into the Constitution, hence the 14th Amendment.
14th Amendment. Okay, so now we got it. So now connect that with what we're seeing today, and how does that give the community power today to go back and knock on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and say, hey, look, you know.
When you see forensics teachers,
right,
when a person is murdered, or a body is laying there on the ground, on the street, let's say a body is laying on the sidewalk, okay? The first thing they want to do, they want to know, why is that body there? How did that body there? And they begin a regressive or a research that takes them back into the past.
Right.
And then, that's what led to his body here.
To be in the street. Right.
Yeah, so literally, there are bodies of human beings, particularly in the urban centers of America, laying on sidewalks like zombies, just laying out there, right?
Right.
And the majority of those people out there, according to the statistics, are the descendants of the chattel slaves, the people for whom the 14th Amendment was originally given to. Right? Okay. And so they're laying out there, and according to all the statistics, we chattel slave descendants, we're only maybe 12% of the general population of America, right?
Right.
But yet we are over 60% of the homeless in America. Then let's bring it to the local in Los Angeles, where Los Angeles Los Angeles is considered the homeless capital of America,
right,
and comparatively the world. Okay, right. So you look at LA County. LA County, the chattel slave descendants, the black citizens, we are only 8% of the general county population.
Right.
Yet we are 40% of the homeless.
Wow.
And then in LA City proper, we're 9% maybe of the general population, but we're over 40% of the homeless. And the black hole vortex, the ground zero of homelessness, which is Skid Row, downtown LA. The people who are on Skid Row, from the hotels, the cheap hotels, to the missions, to the shelters, to the sidewalks. 90% of those folks are black men, followed by black women, then black women and their children, then a mixture of the rest, Hispanics and some Jews and some Asians and some white folks mixed all up in there somewhere. But the most of us is us. Now, so obviously that which was meant good for our people over the generations, over the decades, obviously was never enforced. This is the evidence. These bodies, what they call in Latin the corpus delicti. Here lies the body of evidence that the 14th Amendment has never been enforced in this country.
Right. The call-in line, ladies and gentlemen, is 323-293-3375. If you want to call in and have a question or a comment, please do. Again, the number is 323-293-3375. We're here with Mr. Ted Hayes, and we are talking about homelessness all the way from a constitutional amendment perspective and the Civil Rights Act of 1866. All the way to right now, and what you're seeing, and it really is. I won't say what I'm a part of, but I'm a part of a county structure where we look at senior issues. and the numbers are going up everywhere.
Yes, and I'm very concerned about that senior issue. I'm involved with a group, in fact, over in Hollywood. It's called and I'd like to invite you to it. It's called the Sensible Sages, put together by a movie producer over there. And he wants to get senior citizens more involved and looked after and so forth and so on. So, my heart is with you on that.
Yeah, let me know when you all meet, and we'll not only will I be happy to attend, maybe we can have someone on the show.
Yeah. Oh, he would love to come on the show. You'd be surprised who he is. You're going to like who he is, man. Be a nice guest for you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, okay. So, now, this coming back to the community.
Yes, sir.
With that information you just shared, that there's 3 places that specifically says to the president, you have a responsibility to do X, Y, and Z.
Yes, sir.
What do we want to say that the community should be doing to make sure that our issues are heard?
The first thing we got to do, brothers and sisters, we've got to know the law.
Right.
You see, I call the 14th Amendment right now the closet law. Just because a law is not enforced does not negate the validity of that law.
The law, right.
Okay, it can be sitting there for 1,000 years.
Right,
that law's still alive. Just got to dig it up. Yeah, there's some seeds that have been around for 1,000 years, and you plant them, it's going to grow.
Right.
So that power remains. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is educate ourselves on that law. You're a Marine,
right?
You say, okay, I'm gonna go do this thing. But you just go over to Vietnam and throw a rifle in your hands because go get the enemy. No, what you had to go through basic training. You had to learn
advanced training,
all that,
whole lot of other madness.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that you don't get out there, get yourself killed, and everybody else killed around you.
That's true.
And they gonna call it a gun. They call it what? Your weapon.
Your weapon.
And you take your weapon to the tree. You sleep with your weapon. This 14th Amendment is our weapon.
Okay.
Now the cats who wrote this, the white cats who wrote this law, they were smart enough to recognize any people, regardless of their skin color, who is subjugated to 245 years of chattel slavery that dehumanizes them as such. When you're born a slave, you die a slave. They recognize these people, whenever now they're free, they are going to have psychological, emotional issues for generations yet to come. And we don't know what it is, but we know it's bad.
It's bad and it's coming.
It's coming.
Right.
You can't help it. It's the laws of nature. These are the guys who talk about the Declaration of Independence, the laws of nature. The law of nature says if you do this to any human being, regardless of their skin color or their religion or their ethnicity, this is what's going to happen to them if you don't rectify it. Okay? So what they did was they put this law together. They gave this power in the seed, like a time capsule. And they knew. We don't know how to read. Yeah, Frederick Douglass, a couple other folks around knew how to read and comprehend what they was reading. But the majority of us didn't know how to read nothing. Come on, man, right? So they recognized, look, God willing, we're gonna treat this like buried treasure. That one day, when these people's children, descendants way down the road, when all this stuff starts hitting them, when they know how to read and comprehend what they're reading, they will save themselves
with this weapon.
With this weapon.
Wow.
And the Union will be saved. See, folks, when you read and study, you realize you talked earlier about your show, maybe not necessarily having millions of followers.
Right.
But those you have is here because of the quality, the value of your show. Well, the same with us. Yeah. We have a value. We are the most valuable treasure, the most valuable substance that this country called the United States has. And those men knew that. This is what Abraham Lincoln had taught them, this stuff, before they took him out. And folks, remember something now. Mr. Lincoln, when he died on April the 14th, okay, when they shot him, he passed with 3 things on his mind. The freed chattel slaves, their citizenship, and their right to tell white folks how to run the country, the vote.
Right.
And that's when John Wilkes Booth said we was going to kidnap Lincoln and we was going to negotiate him, okay? But when he he said it's one thing to free the niggers, another thing to give them citizenship.
Right.
But now you're going to have them rule over white folks.
Yeah.
Lincoln got to die.
Yeah.
But he died with that on his mind, meaning that the work of Lincoln has never been finished.
Yeah. Well,
and scholars say that to this day, because of that, though we've advanced technologically, militarily, economically, and all that stuff, the American people are still in a state of shock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why this show exists. Our banner is service is a different conversation. And me being from Memphis, Tennessee, oftentimes we were down in Mississippi. And I used to wonder what it felt like, because my mother, during that time, they didn't let girls go to high school. You know, I remember I had a big issue with my granddaddy. He was already dead, thank God. Because he chose one day he wanted to beat my mama. And they called it then training girls to be good wives. They lock folk up for that kind of crap now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that's not just that. I look back and I wondered, I said, well, now, you got two things with these individuals. You got the slave, mm-hmm. and you got the service mm-hmm. person. Mm-hmm. See, you can beat me all day long. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do what that beating is asking me to do, but I ain't giving you no service. Mm-hmm. You want me to tell you how to grow the best cotton in the world, mm-hmm. and I'm a slave? Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. I'm your slave. I'm going to act like a slave. Mm-hmm. But what these men did was they had the forethought to say, I'm going to give service even as a slave, because I know inside of the seed of me, there is a generation after me, and that generation after me is going to be able to provide service too. And so that's, you know, when I was waiting on this transplant, all of these men told stories about how they were professors and taught mathematics and helped build universities. And nobody knew the story. Nobody knew that. So I created this thing called the Senior Salute, where we tell their story across the nation. And the Raymond Hall Show is supposed to talk about service, and a Senior Salute actually puts that person on the stage so you can see the face of someone who's given service. See, no one can tell me about Mr. Hayes. I've watched Mr. Hayes give service.
33 years.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? I came to Los Angeles in 82, and one of the most memorable people over the whole course of this time I remember is Mr. Ted Hayes.
Stop it.
Now, I'm serious.
It's good to hear.
I was when Mark was a city council.
Right.
You know, there was a forerunner to the neighborhood council.
Mark Ridley Thomas.
Okay, yeah. There was a forerunner to the neighborhood council, but he's credited with the model that they picked up for the city. Yes. And I was his first elected treasurer of that Southeast Neighborhood Council. Okay. And so I was just invigorated coming out of the South. I was just invigorated with people, you know, working and doing things.
Empowered.
And all those kind of things. Right. And that was the first time that I heard you back in that era. I don't remember exactly what it was. And you were part of the people that were in the community talking and doing things. And it was about service.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't just that go to service, be a military person. You had people that was teachers. You had people that was preachers. You had people that were engineers. Everybody gave service with the God-given talent that they had. Mm-hmm. So when you come and start talking about the 14th Amendment and people have a responsibility, just know, ladies and gentlemen, that you have a God-given talent. And the President of the United States, well, look, I don't care about, I ain't going to even call a woman's name, whatever her name is. Why you got that on your plate, and the Russians on your plate, and the Germans on your plate, and Susie on your plate? Put the 14th Amendment that you're supposed to be taking care of for my people on your plate, too.
You know what? It is on the plate. It is on his plate, and this particular president's plate, because this particular president said during the campaign, and this is what got my attention.
Okay.
I didn't care for this cat, frankly.
Well,
care less, whatever you're doing, care less.
Right.
But when he said what he said, he was like a dog whistle. He spoke code to me.
Right.
He didn't say what I just, not him.
Right.
He said the 14th Amendment belongs to black people. It belongs to the people who were slaves in this country and not any other group, including immigrants who are trying to take it from them. He said that. I said, what?
That probably got passed about
a whole bunch of folks. Because someone said he's Republican, therefore you close your ears and you see an image of something. This white man is, he's racist. Right? Didn't hear what that man said. He says what else? Something else he said. People don't listen to. You know that whole wall controversy that's going on out there. He said the reason why I'm doing that because illegal immigration hurts black people more than anybody else in the country. Then he said, black people, I know what y'all been going through with the Democrats. I know the history. He said, black people, I know what's going on in the urban. I know what's going on in the urban centers. These people are bigots on y'all. And he said, I want to help you now. Okay, now. There's a bunch of black folks around the president right now. He's being nice to them. I hope he's hearing this. I hope there else I'm here. They know what I'm talking about. He's placating them. He's humoring them. But see, them folks don't know nothing about homelessness.
Right.
They know nothing about the 14th Amendment. They know nothing about civil rights. All they talk is that so-called conservatism that they be talking about. I'm not knocking it.
I don't even give them credit for that.
I'm not knocking it, but that's what Republicans, that's all they want to talk about, right? But they don't know how to connect it. Okay. And the man is sitting there. Look, I hung with black people in New York. I rappers, I know, but I don't know what's wrong with y'all. I have here the 14th Amendment. I know what my duty is, but y'all got to come and tell me.
Right.
And see, and from what I'm gathering, the white people in the country who are really genuinely in their hearts and minds for us, they know this stuff too, but they're not going to tell us. And I thought, how come they won't tell us? Why don't they speak up? Because I realize if they say, all right now, here, this is for you, and this is you, and this is, what'll happen is they taught us instead of us learning ourselves. And then we, being who we are, they know what we do, we will latch on to them and dependent upon them. These white folks said they want us to have a citizenship as is enjoyed by themselves, by white people. Then others said, we want a partner to dance with. You know, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Right. Now, if Ginger Rogers had stood on Fred Astaire's shoes while he danced, that don't work.
Right.
He wants a woman that can get out there and kick it with him in high heel shoes.
Right.
And she did it. So she was a better dancer than him.
Right.
And that's what they want from us. And who is it, my brother? They know this. Every time this white man will go out and get into some fight with some white Europeans or some yellow folks over there in the Far East or whatever, and get in this big old fight, guess who's there with him?
Yeah, black folk.
And we always save his butt. Tuskegee Airmen saved World War II.
Right. Well, one of the things that I have to, that I constantly
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be...
No, that's okay.
I'm sorry about that.
We're still on the thing about this homelessness, and we have to look at all of the tentacles.
Yeah, well, see, that's what... because we have not known this closet law, we have not practiced it. Dr. King alluded to it in I Have a Dream speech 55 years ago. He said, promissory note. Take it to the Bank of Justice, to the president of the bank. We've never done that.
Right.
He said that until the Negro receives his citizenship rights, there will be turmoil and no rest in this country. And look at these white folks. You see them today fighting over this whole Russia thing. The Democrats, Republicans constantly going at it, but the root of all of that is us.
Yeah. Well, to look at how this non-permanent housing situation has exploded in L.A., to allow all of this foreign money to come in and destabilize communities.
Absolutely
because
correct.
that's what's going on.
Absolutely correct. Right out front.
Right out front.
I see it coming over here.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Because traditionally, their own racist energies kept them out of our communities. We gonna redline ourselves. We ain't going over there. Okay, so rents stayed stable, food stock stayed stable, and everything else. But now it's greed. Let the Chinese in, let everybody else in, everything. And so they're not coming with a remembrance of the bigotry. They're saying land is land. I want some land.
And
so
see,
they're
folks,
buying up South LA and buying up all of these places. Yeah. And like you said, it's $2,500 now to just average, rent. Just to rent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we got to do then, folks, is because I don't blame them. Mm-hmm. Number one, I lay the blame on my federal government.
Okay.
Particularly the White House and the president, whoever that may be, over these generations. Mm-hmm. And most importantly, I blame it on us, that we have not owned up to our power that's given to us. So what we need to do is study. I'm starting a class every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock in Inglewood. I'll get out to the address later. And at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be teaching on the 14th Amendment and what it all means. And as we learn this, then we can begin to apply it in every situation we're dealing with. I'm headed to Washington, D.C. again in a couple of weeks. Well, actually, I'm going to during the week of the anniversary of the 55th anniversary of the March in Washington, D.C., where King gave the I Have a Dream speech. So I'm going to D.C. for 7 days. And I'm already starting to launch a campaign, a private offline campaign with the White House, negotiating with them. I'm telling them, I'm coming anyway. Okay? But how I come, the negotiation will determine how I come. Whether I come as a friend or come as a critic.
Yeah, you're going individually, or you're going as a group?
There'll be a team of us, and there'll be a team over there waiting for us when we get there. We're going to do a whole big thing, but now we're going to give the White House until August the 7th to work a deal with us. Okay. If they don't work a deal with us by August the 7th, then we're going to go public on Facebook and social media, news conference. We're doing a rally at the first of the month downtown at 500 West Temple Street at the Board of Supervisors. And what we're going to do to the Board of Supervisors and to the President, we're going to show the President that L.A. County is practicing Jim Crow policies. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. When we began to look, the team I work with, looking for where homeless folks are zoned to build structures for homeless, what areas are zoned. There's commercial, there's residential, there's mixed residential, commercial, mixed use, and there's light and heavy industrial. We looked. The only place that LA County, it's written in this law, it's a code, the only place that LA County has zoned for homeless building structures, industry areas. Industry. What they're saying is, you black people, y'all can't be over here. If you're going to have anything, y'all got to do it over there. And I know of two shelters, you may know what they are, that are in industrial zones. One is out in Commerce, the city of Commerce, the veterans facility out there. Right. And there's one over here in Inglewood. There's probably more. We just discovered this. And so when we point out these statistics.
Yeah, the one in Inglewood been there for years.
Yeah, nobody said nothing.
Yeah.
And we point out these statistics that they are relegating black homeless people, just like Jim Crow, to the other side of the track, whatever you want to do, call that. That's racism. That triggers the 14th Amendment. Right. That triggers the Civil Rights Act of 1866. That triggers not only the district courts and the circuit courts. Not only does it trigger the United States military, according to Section 5. Not only does it trigger the marshals, it also triggers the Supreme Court. But 3 times it triggers the president. Now, Section 8 says, when the president has reason to believe that the subject beneficiaries of the act are being violated or about to be violated, it shall be lawful for him to take action. He don't know. We got to go and tell him, we are awake, sir. We are comprehending. Now, we expect you. We're not asking you. We're not demanding you. We are expecting you to obey the law.
Okay. Now, with that being said, and with the framers. I remember back in the day, you were either a planner or a soldier. So you went to college and you could sit at the table with the planners. This is back when the Panthers was feeding people. Forget all that foolishness they talk about. And you went to when they was drafting. Sometimes you was happy to go because you learned their tactics. So you either soldier or planner. So now, as the planners do their work, working talking about the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act, what do you want the people here on the ground to do? What should we be doing to alleviate the plight of the homeless? Should we be talking to the homeless about, even though you're here on the street and it's homeless, it's being addressed at the federal level? Is that foreign to them?
It's very foreign. If you ask the average black person in this country, and I'm not knocking anybody, I'm just because I didn't find this out myself until 2004. I thought I was a civil rights activist.
Well, to tell the truth, I didn't find it out until you told me.
And that's okay.
I mean, in general, we know it, but we didn't know about the president has power, and
we had no idea. We had no idea.
Right.
And most of us don't know this. And I check with white folks; they don't know it either. I check with high-powered lawyers; they don't know it either. It's just amazing how this has gone down. So tell them. When you do speak to them, I may have had no money in my pocket right now. I can't take you home, but there is a movement, my brother and sister, all the way to the White House. We're claiming the things of power that is ours. And you can tell them about the 14th Amendment. But again, you can't really talk to them about it specifically because you don't know it yet. So people need to, first of all, learn it. And let me tell folks, okay, go to the THE, digital 1, digital 4, .us. That's the 14th.us. And I have a whole series where I'm discussing this. And also I have a video series of 23 segments, about 5 minutes to 10 minutes long, so you can get it all in one shot. It explains the whole process there. Educate yourself.
Okay.
Find out when we're going to be doing our classes on Saturdays. Come to those classes.
Okay. Now, have you got a schedule yet?
As I said, we're looking at the first class would be this Saturday. I've just got to get to you the specific address.
Well, if
I can't do that until
okay.
Just call you. They can call you and get it, right?
Yeah, they can call me, or we're going to put it up post it on the page, and then they'll know it and that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
We are coming up on the final part of the show. It seems to go so fast when you have interesting guests and interesting content.
There's so many things I want to say, but we've got to.
Yeah, so we get through part of it, and then we look up, and there's so much more to talk about.
That's right.
We're talking about human beings. We homelessness. We're talking about human beings without housing permanency. Okay. Human beings. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to take a second to mention, to remember Mr. Charles Mitchell. We'll be right back. anything for Chuck Mitchell? Well, thank you all so very much. We're coming up on the last segment. I want to share with you a young man that I had the pleasure of meeting. He was actually a mentor of mine. His name was Mr. Charles Mitchell. We called him Chuck. Mr. Mitchell was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, and I understand that he was a part of some organization for the federal government there in Denver, and then he moved here to Los Angeles, where I met him. He was a part of the California Senior Legislature, and that's the place where they put forth legislation through proposals to the regular assembly, and if it's selected and the governor signs it, it becomes law here in California to help advance issues or add to the quality of life for seniors. He was also a member of the Los Angeles County Commission on Aging, so he was very actively involved, very politically involved, and he knew how to direct people to use their best talents in order to get them on the right commissions and things so they would be effective. So, Chuck, wherever you are, my friend, this is to you. We thank you for your service, to the nation. As a Marine, Vietnam vet, we thank you for your service to the community. And from our hearts here in the homeland to you, wherever you are, this brief song is for you. So, Mr. Mitchell, and to all of the people who serve around the nation, who serve in foreign places all over the globe, to those wives who look to see their loved ones soon and the children, to all of the people who help. It's not just the man who fly the plane, it's the people who service those planes. It's not just the man who drives the truck or the woman who drives the truck, but the people who service those trucks. We are required with the benefits that we've been given to be of service. So to those persons that you know of that have been of service to you, tell them thank you. Pick up the mantle of service and have some service in your life. We're here today with Mr. Ted Hayes, and Mr. Ted Hayes has been of service to the community, and we are going to be concluding with his closing thoughts. So talk to us now about if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Just go to tedhayes.us.
Tedhayes.us. Okay.
It's right there. And
it's that simple.
Yeah, that's simple. And you can see our plan. We don't have time to go into it now, but maybe I can come back and we can talk with the president. When we get to the president, the question is, so if the president says, okay, y'all got me, what y'all want me to do?
Okay.
What would you tell him, Ted? That's what I want to come back and share with you.
Okay.
What we're going to do.
We're looking forward to that. Now, you know, here on the Raymond Hall Show, we don't sell anything or we don't do that. We have our sponsors. So if you're looking to be a sponsor or to place ads on the show, please let us know. You know how to get in touch with us. As much as I can say, we're working feverishly to get our social media platform back up to where it should be. It's not that I have totally abandoned it. It's just that I can only do so much, at one time. And so we're looking to make that thing effective. But our highlight today is I had the pleasure of going into in the city of Carson, and it was this lovely ice cream place called Ken Ice Cream Place, and Ken's Ice Cream. And his grandmother used to own it. It's been there since 1980. We've got a call, so we're going to take this quick. But it was some good ice cream. That's all I want to say.
Amen.
Good afternoon. You're on the air with the Raymond Hall Show.
Yes, this is my first time watching the show. I think this conversation is important. It's a conversation that needs to continue. homelessness. I know people that are homeless, and there's a veterans lady that's been posted outside the post office in Loma Linda, California. She served in the Air Force for 4 years, and she's homeless. She's 70 years old. She's been down to the VA in Loma Linda, and they have her on a waiting list, and it just really hurts my heart. But also, what about the discussion on mental illness and addiction, and as it relates to homelessness? I'm a soldier. I'm a servant. I'm a Desert Storm Army veteran.
Okay.
So I thank you for your service too.
All right. Well, thank you for your service.
Yes. So so that's some of the things I'd like to know more about, the resources. I am studying the 14th Amendment.
Good.
And we need to really read on that, because people are being deprived. Citizens, of this country are being deprived. And as a veteran, I really want to see, veterans not deprived of those things, as well as every other citizen. But the question is about mental health and addictions and resources.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much for your call. I will share this with you. We do have another show scheduled to talk about homelessness, and specifically talk about homelessness with veterans and seniors. And we will be addressing the issue of chronic homeless.
Yes.
We'll be addressing the issue of mental health homeless. We'll be addressing a lot of things. So thank you for tuning in, and please like us, tell your friends, and we will tune in next week, and we will be talking about homeless. We're going to invite Mr. Hayes to come back.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
Anytime he wants to. Yeah. And so we'll have it straight off the press when he gets back from Washington D.C.
Well, that's great, because it's an epidemic out there, and something has to be done.
That's true, and we are going to continue with your help raise the level of consciousness and get something done all the way from the White House here to your house through the Raymond Hall Show. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Okay. Well, we're going to leave it right there. We have flat out ran out of time. We want to thank the caller for calling in, and everything she said was right to the point. Make sure you tune in to us again next week. We will be continuing a conversation that has to do with service. We will be doing our best to make sure that we get you programming that is the kind of programming that you want to hear about. If you have any suggestions, you can follow us. Go to Facebook and tell us what it is that you're interested in, and we'll do our best. Mr. Hayes, again, thank you so very much, my friend.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate your service, sir.
All right.
Big time.
We're going to say goodbye. God bless each and every one of you. Stay safe, and as much as possible, be of service. Have a good day.